Hey everybody, I'm Amanda with DevExpress and welcome to today's webinar, What's New in 13.2 Analytics and Dashboards, presented by Analytics Program Manager Seth Juarez. In this session, watch Seth describe all of the enhancements to our award-winning charting, reporting, and dashboard tools across all supported platforms. The changes are numerous, including Sparklines, parameterized dashboards, map improvements, and enhancements to the DevExpress Report Server. Thank you so much for joining us. I will now hand things over to Seth Juarez.
Well, good morning, everybody. This is Seth Juarez, and you are in for a fantastic ride. We have some cool stuff to show you. I know Amanda said I was going to show you all of the new enhancements, but this would be an 8-hour webinar. And if you'd like, we can make it such, although I don't know if Amanda can tolerate me for 8 hours. I know my wife can't. So let's get started today, analytics and dashboard. You know, nowadays we have this push to do analysis. It's an important push because everything we have now, our data is valuable, and if we can squeeze the juice out of it, then we can make our businesses more profitable. But sometimes it feels like we really don't even know where to start. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I think analytics is, and I'm going to show you how DevExpress fits in, especially in this new release. We have some fantastic features that I think you will enjoy. Again, we don't have a lot of time, so I will go pretty fast. If you have any questions, again, put them in the question box, and we will answer them either at the end, or I might take one or two during. Now, the purpose of analytics, I think, is a very important one. Visualizations tend to allow you to look at data quickly, and they also allow you to understand what is going on without having to have all those important meetings that we have. My particular opinion is that analytics removes doubt regarding your data. It starts with questions. Now, most often, if you're looking for a solution that's going to do the work for you, there's no such thing. You have to have questions first, and then we can give you the tooling with that gives you visualizations to help you understand what the answers to those questions with your data. Now, visualizations are either static or dynamic, and I'm going to emphasize this here for a second. I get questions all the time about making hover tooltips over charts inside of reports. Reports is supposed to be a static visualization that will end up on a piece of paper. If you want pop-ups to come up on charts, you should probably use charts. Or if you want a report that has a chart and then it also has a table in it, and then if you click on a certain part of the table that it changes the chart, you shouldn't use a report, you should use a dashboard, because that is a more dynamic visualization. Our particular offering is as follows. In this particular reason, obviously we have other stuff. For example, under dynamic, I didn't add charts or grids or pivot grids, even though they are part of dynamic visualization. But in 13.2, I'm going to show you just these. Our static visualizations include our PDF viewer. For reporting, we have Snap XtraReports and Report Server. I'm going to show you some of the new features that we have in those products. And now, next, for dynamic visualizations, we have charts and maps, spreadsheets, and dashboards. I know Paul Usher talked a little bit about some of those things yesterday. I'm going to look at it from a different perspective, just to give you a little feeling of how I think about these particular things. Okay, so again, when it comes to our offering, we have static visualizations and dynamic visualizations. Now, obviously, our static visualizations have some form of interactivity. For example, drill through reports is semi-static. But remember, the more dynamic you want your visualizations to be, the less you should put them in reports, and you should use instead other of our tools. Again, if you have any questions about these things, let me know. So let's get started. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about PDF. We have added some fantastic features in PDF. You can now search for text in the PDF viewer, and you can extract text from PDF documents. So without further ado, I'll bring in some code. All right, so we're going to start with PDF. Let me go to this main form. This is a project already set up. All it has is an empty ribbon form, and you can see you can see here I have a PDF file that I've opened up. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to go ahead and drop a PDF viewer onto the form. And let me dock it. And let me create the ribbon. Look at that. Now let me go over here and delete this old one. And there you have it. This is how you build a ribbon. This is how you build a PDF viewer. Not anything too difficult. And what I'm going to do is instead of loading the PDF file from here, notice that I have this already PDF file in there. So I am just going to load it up in the code behind. So let's go to the code. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a file. So var file equals, I think it was ECMA-335.pdf. Okay, and now I'm just going to say a PDF viewer one.load document, and I'll say file. Okay, so let's run it, and let's look at it. All right, so that's it, really. If you want to look at a PDF inside of your application, you can do that. By the way, this is the ECMA standard for C#. It's a large document. You can see it renders everything pretty well, and you can search things, for example, like the term parameters. You can search, you can look at the next word, previous word, etc. Now, that's all well and good, but I think the more interesting aspect of this is doing it in code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, and I am going to add a button here, and we'll just leave it bar button item 1. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to widen the scope of this particular variable to this. There you go. So we have the file there. And next I'm going to have a search term, and we're searching for parameters just like we did before. And then I'm going to, whoa, look at that. Wrote some code real quick for everybody. And incidentally, it's not real analysis unless we use threads. And so I use the thread for everyone right there. Okay, so let's take a look at this code that I wrote here. I want you to see it. It's not difficult code. But we have here this thing called the PDF document processor. Now, if you're like any business, you have tons of files just sitting everywhere. Imagine it, again, you can also do this with RTF or Word docs using our document processor. But with PDF documents, imagine you have 50 bazillion million documents sitting on 5 different machines. You can create a scenario where you use this document processor to search for any term inside of all or any of those documents. Notice how you do it. There's the processor. Load the doc. Tell it how to do the searching. You can see that right there. And then you can get the results. Notice that what I'm doing here is I'm getting the results once, and then I'm just going and repeating all of the results. So let's do this. Let's run it. And so now, for example, Control F, parameters, right? I can search that, and also you can see over here at the bottom it loading up all of those values of parameters. And why is it doing it so nicely without any interference? Because I put it on another thread. And so you can see you can do that. Now, that's interesting that it does do that, but now imagine a scenario where you're at this place, and now you want to see, well, what's the next word? Right? Next word. Or, for example, the previous word. You can do that. So, for example, you can start to get context around what is really going on inside of your document. Or say, for example, you just want all the text. I think it's get page text, and you can say results dot page index. So now we have the full text of the actual page where we found that result. Looks like I already have text, so I'll just press T. So notice there's tons of things that you can do to analyze your documents in a powerful and quick way. Now, this again isn't limited to WinForms, right? You can load this up on your server and do all sorts of interesting sort of lookups with PDF. Okay, so that is our PDF stuff. I showed you how to search for text. I showed you how to find text and retrieve results, next, previous word, etc. So that's what we have going on there. Next, let's talk about snap reporting or reporting with snappiness. What we've done is we've added a couple of features. I'm not going to show you all of them. I'll show you probably the majority of them. So let's get started. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go now to Win Snap, set this as the startup project, and now I'm going to go to this main form, which is just what we had before, and now I'm just going to type in Snap and bring it over. There you go. Let me create all the tabs, and let all of the DevExpress gerbils create all of the tabs for us. As it's doing this, let me describe briefly what we've done with Snap. One of the things that we've done is we've made it a lot easier to do mail merge type views of your data inside of the control. Additionally, we've added Sparklines and some appearance customizations that I think you're really going to like, and I'll show you those three. Let me take the text out of this because we don't need it. Let me save it, and now let me close all but this, and let me run it. All right, so I forgot to take the one ribbon page out that I didn't do, so I will delete that and restart. Okay, so here we go. Here is the snap report. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some things that we've done inside of the data source. I'll talk a little bit more about it when we do dashboards. So I'll hook into the Northwind database. I'm going to use, I think localhost works. Yes, it does. I'm going to go to Northwind and hit next. Now, I forgot. Let's select the products view because that's what we want. And now notice here at the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see this Open Query Designer. I am going to click that, and then I'm going to hit Finish. Okay. Now, inside of the Query Designer, there are two new things that you will be able to see here. One has to do with parameters, and the other has to do with filtering. So now, for example, you can do parameterized server-side filtering of the data that you pull out. Let me show you what that looks like. So let me add a parameter, and let's call it category, because that's what we want to do. We'll leave it a string, and I'll start it with C and hit OK. Next, what you can do, and I'll show you this here, but I won't set it just because I want to show you a different way to do it as well. You can go to category name, and remember, just like reports, let me zoom in here so you can see, just like reports, you can switch between the different types of values that you can set. So for example, you can compare it with another field, or you can compare it with a parameter. When you do that and hit OK, notice what happens to the query. Again, the query is being executed on the server side, so you can actually start to get the results that you want. And then you can change those parameters in code when you are working with Snap. But I'm going to go ahead and take that off because I want to show you mail merge filtering as well. So let me remove this and hit apply. Okay. Now let's zoom out and let me hit OK. All right, so now notice off here to the right, we have our fields. So let me expand them a little bit so you can see what they are. Now, remember, traditionally, when you drop something on using Snap, it creates a table. And if you wanted to do more of a mail merge type of thing, what you had to do is you had to change to paragraphs and then reset everything. So let me take that out and let me show you a new way to do it using mail merge. So over here off to the right, you can see there is a use for mail merge setting that you can set, or you can go up here to mail merge and you can set the data source to mail merge over here. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to go over here and right click and say use for mail merge. Notice that now it's all green. Let me wait for your screens to catch up. There you go. It's all green. And now you can start dropping things on by clicking stuff. Look at that. So notice I did it too fast. So now we can do country, discontinued. There's a checkbox. So EAN, then fax, home page. Looks like they don't have value. Phone number and picture, for example. There you go. So notice how quickly now we can do mail merge type stuffs using Snap. And again, everything you knew and love, you can go in here and change it to a barcode if you want. So we'll say, I think this is EAN 13. So you can do that. But notice that you're only doing this on one page because under mail merge, you can do this thing called finish and merge. Additionally, you can also do sorting here. So category name begins with, remember this? Do you see how it changed over here? Because we set C in there, so you can do parameterized mail merging as well with Snap. And finally, there are a couple of things in the appearance area that I want to point out. You can save the theme, load a theme, or restore the document styles. So yeah, this is Snap for you. It's pretty powerful. I like it. I hope you enjoy the new features, particularly this new mail merge feature. Oh, I forgot to show you, you can do Sparklines too. All you do, just like before, is just drop data onto it, and it will do it. Okay, next. So we did mail merge. I showed you a couple of things with that. Next, let's talk about XtraReports. Everyone knows and loves XtraReports. It's the first product I got to work with when I worked at DevExpress, so I actually really like it. Let me show you three things. The first thing I'm going to show you is pretty simple. So simple, in fact, that it's pretty fantastic. So let me go over. I've already built a product report. You can see it right now. And this product report is connected to the Northwind database, and this is what it looks like. This is the product report. Let me move this over so you can see the full page. And let me move this over so you can, again, see the full page. So this is your standard product report, but let me show you something, okay? Are you ready? I am going to highlight this. Right-click print. What? Yes. And here is my PDF printer thingy that I use. Thank you. Look at that. All I did was select something on a report and print it out. And this works with pretty much anything. So now I can right-click on that, hit print. And you can see that I can do quickly I can print anything really out of our reports, even if it's just sections. I can do the same thing with our reports. So we call that print to select, or select to print, excuse me, and we can do that with different items. Next, another popular thing that's been asked for a lot is the following. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add a new report. And there we go. We are coming up in the United States to a very important season for us called taxes. Everyone loves taxes. I seriously, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to watermark, because there is a specific form that we have to use as Americans. This is one of them. It's the 1040 easy form. And wouldn't it be nice if your software could just print this out? Yes. Yes, I agree too. So notice that previously what you did is you put the watermark in, and then you had to sort of cheat between preview and the designer to even get anything to do anything. But now there is a thing, you can see it here, called draw watermark. I will set this to true. Pow! Take a look at what happened now with that. Now notice that I have the thing, I can see the form. I can make my form, I can make my report boundaries fit exactly what you would like to see. Let me make this a little bit bigger here. Looks like I need some more bigness. And so now notice that I can actually start to work with pre-printed forms inside of your report. Pow! This is probably one of my favorite things. Take a look at this kind of stuff you can do. So I'm going to grab this label, and I'm going to just drag it on here, and my name is Seth. Now I can take this label and drag it over here. My last name is Juarez. And now I can take this label over here, and I have always wanted to go to Botswana, so that is my new country. And just to make sure that you can see that it's there, I'm going to change the color to, oh, it's thinking. For some reason, the color box is touchy sometimes. And so I'm going to let it think about life while I answer some questions. 2 questions for XtraReports. When will you include weighted average to built-in functions? That's a great question. I can show you how to build that yourself. In fact, I already built that for someone. I can send it to you. Send me an email. Does export to PDF support semi-transparent images as for background? I don't think it does quite yet, but I'm not sure. Send me an email. Great question. Oh, it looks like I did send it to this person. So, oh, good. He wants me to put it in. Maybe the devs will accept my code. I don't know if that's possible though. Let's go to preview. Take a look at that. Now you can build reports with pre-printed forms. Okay? So I think that's another fantastic ad. Look at that. I can go over here to this, and I can, let me Control C, Control V. Oh, I copied all of them. That's not what I wanted. I just wanted one of them. Control C, Control V. We're going to type an X in there, and we're going to put an X over here. Notice just like you do before, you can move stuff around. Oh, I think I made it. Oh, I moved it all the way down on accident. And so you can do stuff like this just like you could. Let's literally like if you had the form yourself. Okay. Oh, and the question from Zion, can you bind those labels to database fields? Absolutely. I mean, this is just, it's just imagine just a standard report, but we put a fancy background in there. So that's a really, really good question. Okay, now that I've shown you a couple of report thingies, let me show you the next thing with reports. We have a new ASPX viewer. And look, you see, I told you I would get low on time. So we'll call this the web. No, you know what? We're going to call this the WAT project for ASP.NET. It's going to be an empty one. Let's stick with web forms, and let's hit OK. Luke asks, while this is being built, support for multi-page pre-printed form. You know what? Although it's not in the same sort of report, you can build as many reports that you want and then amalgamate them together using page concatenation. So yes, you can do that. Absolutely. So let me right-click here. Let me add a new item. And we are going to add a web form. Let's call it main, because that's what I call stuffs, I guess. And now a couple of things that we need to do, because we're going to be doing reporting in here. I need to get a couple of assemblies. So I will just copy them, and then I will paste them. Paste. And now the next thing I need to do is I need to add a reference to the actual reports. So I'll hit OK. So now the reports are available to this. With one last caveat, we need to add the connection string into the web.config file. wait, before I do that, I'll put that in last because there's going to be some config changes here in a second. Okay, so let me show you now what you can do with reporting. You remember before with reporting, we had like 5 or 6 controls that you could use for showing reports. Now, we thought to ourselves, why should we force you to drop a parameters panel, for example, given the fact that the parameters panel either exists or it doesn't inside of the given report? Why make you go through the extra work? So now you can just drop one thing on. Let me go to design view so that the DevExpress gerbils can create all of the assembly thingies that we need. And now we have this fantastic report. Again, just a quick little thing that I need to do. You remember, I think I still have it on the, there you go, just to make sure that we have the connection string that we want. Now let me go back and show you. Notice we have everything that you would need to do reporting right there. And the next thing that's important is we have the ability, just like we had before, of selecting reports. So let me, oh, it's not there, so I need to rebuild to make sure that we have everything in there. So now that it's rebuilt, I should be able to go to the local report and use the product report that we had before. So there you go. That's all I did. Let me set this as the startup project. Let me go to the main, and let me set this as the startup page, and let's get to running. I'm going to bring over the web page that we're doing. Kapow! You can see that this has everything that you would expect it. Remember, because this particular report had parameters. It had a document map. It's going to show you. But since it doesn't have a panel, it doesn't have any parameters, we're not going to show parameters. Now, that is not it completely. I hope you are all sitting down, because now I'm going to show you something even more interesting about this. Okay? You recall that when I hit this guy, there was 2 things. So I'm going to unassign the report. What is this, you ask? What is a remote report? Well, I will show you. So I will go over here and hit the, by the way, this ambiguous sort of picture, that's probably because we haven't released it yet and I'm using yesterday's build. So notice though, with a remote report, you can connect to one of 2 things. What are those, you ask? Well, the report service is the same report service that you would use traditionally for Silverlight. But we thought, hey, why not have our reports run on a different server using a report service and connect it to a different machine? You can do that using a report service. Or even better yet, you can use our fabulous report server, which I'll talk to you a little bit more, probably next actually. So I'm going to go to report server, and I'm going to type in an address of my report server, which is running right here in a virtual machine. There you go. It's right there. So I'll move that out of the way. And I'm going to log in with report server credentials. My name is Seth, and let me put in my password. And you're going to see this. It's connecting to the report server. What? And there is a product report on the report server. In fact, I can bring this over here. Go to reports. It's thinking. Go over to reports, and then you'll see that there is indeed a product report in there. So I'll wait for your screen to, there you go. So there is the product report. So I will hit next. I will use the report server endpoint and hit finish. And then, yes, I will let you do that. And then I'll run it again. And you'll see what? There is an error. Of course there is an error, right? Because the credentials that you use were just merely to discover the reports that were available. But now when you're inside of the application, you have to tell it, well, what kind of credentials to use. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how to set this up. I'm going to go over to main.aspx. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a function real quick. POW. And if you look at this function, it's pretty simple, right? It's a viewer requests credentials. It sends web authenticator login events. And then for credentials, I pass in my web credentials, which happen to be Seth. And this is my password. I use this for my bank account as well if you'd like to log in. And then I say that the handling of it is true. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the source here. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to, let's break apart the attributes using Code Rush. Kapow! And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a point to this particular event, viewer request credentials. So there it is. Now I can run it. Let's run it and see if it works. So bringing it over. It's thinking about life. While it's thinking about life, couple of questions. Can the report accept stored procs as data source? Absolutely. It can be bound to anything, even your kitchen sink, if it has some kind of IEnumerable interface. Again, look at this. There's the product report. It's the same one as before, but notice that it is different because the bookmarks are not the same as the one. And so this is coming directly from the report server. Kapow! It literally is just amazing. We get a lot of questions, for example, of people saying, I just want my users to look at the reports on the report server, but I don't want to take up too many licenses. Notice that now what you can do is you can build your own application that takes one license to show reports. John asks, can reports have group summaries? Of course, they most certainly can. Okay, so that is reporting in a nutshell. I showed you the new document viewer control. I showed you pre-printed forms, and I showed you print selection. Printing system, this could be a webinar unto itself, but unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time. Okay, let's talk about the report server. Since I brought it up, there's a couple of things about the report server that I think are fantastic. Let's go to the general settings. And let me show you the first. Notice that before, what we had with report server is we forced you to either use report server authentication or Windows authentication. Now, what you can do is you can have both at the same time. We have a mixed mode for doing authentication. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, you remember we had a bunch of you have a bunch of emails that have been sent out every time, for example, a report has been generated or your password needs to be reset or a footer on the message. Remember that before they were really ugly emails. Now you have the opportunity to change them to something even uglier if you wish. So now every time a scheduled report gets sent out, it will say something even uglier. There are two different reports. So for example, when you schedule a report to be sent out as an attachment, more on that later, you can change the template of what has been sent. In addition to that, you can set parameters to that so that you can send it to a specific username or you can reference a specific task. So now you can change the way the emails are sent, not how they're sent out, but how they look. Which brings us to another interesting thing. Let me add a task here real quick to show you something about this. So we're going to name this something very useful for our developers. We're going to choose the Northwind product report. But now notice here, let me zoom in so that I can do stuff. Now notice that instead of just sending a URL to preview the report, which is what we used to do, now you can send the report as an attachment, either as a PDF or an Excel workbook. Yes, so when the boss man is flying in a plane, tweeting about how he's tweeting on an airplane, he can also receive an attached PDF email and tweet about that in the airplane too. So that's one of the other fantastic things that we've added to the report server. Have you noticed that the obligatory first tweet when you're tweeting from an airplane is, "I am tweeting from an airplane"? So yeah, then they can tweet, "I just got a report from the DevExpress Report Server." Question that I just got, can I send the report in an email as body content from the report server? Not quite yet, and the reason why is because the content is multi-part. The other question is, can I specify days of the week in the scheduled tasks? Let's see. Yes, you can. Of course you can. Notice that we're sending weekly, and then there is a little checkbox here to do that. Great question. Okay, so last but not least, I told you about HTML emails, mixed mode. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you is the following. Notice that we have our Northwind data view. We are bound to tables, but the new hotness, which everyone has been asking for, is to do edit procedure, add stored procedure as part of the data view. Let me show you how cool this is. Now what I can do is I can add procedure. I'm going to select employee by ID, hit yes, kapow! Notice that now you can bind directly to stored procedures. What, you say, how is that done? Let me go to add report. I'm clicking on it. It's opening the DevExpress Report Server End User Designer. And I am going to build a quick report using the stored procedure. Let me show you how this is done. So I am going to connect to the DX Report Server, type in my super secret password, and hit login. And what it's going to do is it's going to get ready to make a report for me. So now what I'll do is I'll go to this smart taggy thingy. I'll go to data source, add new data source, select Northwind as the data source, and choose the stored procedure. I'll hit next, take all the fields, and hit finish. Notice that there's no parameters here because there are implicit parameters, and that I'll show you a little bit. And now what I'll do is I'll put first name. You know what? Let me do it a little bit faster. First name, last name, hire date. We'll just push it right over here, push it right over there. And now when I go to preview, you say, but wait, it needs a parameter. Yes, we know. In fact, parameters in this case will be prepended with an @ as is convention for SQL parameters. And now notice that it brings up just Nancy, who happens to be Devolio. Question, can Report Server connect to Oracle database? Yes. Now, I'll tell you a secret, but don't tell anybody, even though this is being recorded and I'm pretty much telling everybody. The report server is built on top of XPO as the data source. So anything XPO can connect to, our report server can connect to as well. So there, yeah, it's pretty cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just upload this report. Let's call it the employee report, and description, something useful, and then initial revision. Remember, I don't know if I've said this enough, but you can store report revisions, which is fantastical. So now let's go to this guy and let's look at reports again. Notice we have the employee report. When I go to scheduling and add a task, something useful, let's go to employee report. Let's hit add task. But now, dear friends, the most important thing is the report server needs to know what to put in here. So I'll put 1 because that's Nancy Devolio, and then you can add subscribers to this. Incidentally, notice that the UI is a lot friendlier also in the report server. Okay, there you have it. So the question from Eduardo is, do my clients have to buy a full DXperience Universal subscription to use Report Server? Or will DevExpress sell runtime licenses? Great question. We actually can do both. Go to devexpress.com right now, and you go to Products Report Server, you can see the pricing is pretty fantastic. You can get it with Universal, comes with 5 CALs, which means 5 client access licenses. You can buy it by itself for $19.99 and get 15 CALs. And if you want extra CALs, you get a bundle of 5 for $500. So again, the thing I like about DevExpress is we are so upfront about what we're doing. We are not trying to do the old switcheroo, like when you try to buy other unnamed report servers and you have to like give them your email before they'll call you to convince you need it and then tell you the price. We know you need a report server, so we'll tell you how much it costs up front. Okay, so that is the report server. Let me close this down and let's go on to the next thing. Before I go on, the question from Michael is, what are the major reasons that you would use a report server? Well, primarily because your data is already set, is probably in your database. You can build a report server with our stuff. I did it in my last job. I built exactly this report server. But just let us build it and save you a couple, maybe 4 to 6 weeks. Actually, that's not true. We've been working on it for like a year and a half. You could probably build a semi-good one in maybe a couple of months, but it won't have all the features that we have. It won't have security. It won't have automatic email sending. And so in essence, this is a way to say, hey, we want to solve reporting, but we don't want to solve reporting. So let's just let DevExpress do that. In addition to that, if you need integration, I just showed you the ASPX document viewer integrates perfectly well with the report server. Next question, do you need a CALs to access the report server or just to create and alter reports? You need CALs to access the report server and to create and alter reports, but you just need a CAL. The CALs work by, it's pretty simple. You can have 8 million users, but only the active users, and it's a checkbox, are those that take up CALs. Great question. Jorg is asking about XAF and report server. I will talk about XAF on Thursday. Please come back. All right, let's talk about charts and maps. I am running low on time, so let's just go to the demo. So here is the Win chart. So let me hit add. Let me set this as the startup project. Let's go to the main thingy. And let me close all but this. Now, let me go to chart control. Let's drop it on there. Let's dock in the parent container. Look at this. We have this create all bars thing because, again, this is a dynamic analysis tool. So you can do all sorts of stuff like that. And now we're going to start to do some of the binding. I'm going to bind to this data object. It's just a class that has X, Y, W, and Z because I'm going to show you data aggregation. You guys are familiar with distributions. I will show you two, but I'll show you what it looks like. Now, Eduardo's asking, does create all bars work in other languages besides English? I think so. I haven't tried it. So let's do this. Let's go to the data source wizard, and we're going to bind to an ilist IEnumerable of something, and we're going to use the binding source component, and we're going to use the data object. Notice that it sees the values. We don't want those as members. I'll hit finish. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to run this wizard thing. I'm going to go to series, remove series 2, and under data on the binding side, I'm going to set the argument to X and the value to Y. And then I'll hit finish. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the code behind. People are asking about dashboards. Yes, I am going as fast as I can. I will probably skip a couple of things in this chart demo because next is spreadsheet, then we'll do dashboard. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to write some quickie code here to bind the chart. And what I'm going to do is I'll show you. Let me do this. I will add. Let me add a button here. Add button, and I'm going to call the bind because what's going to happen is it's going to take a little while, but I want you to understand that it's because it's generating data on its own, and that's what's taking a little bit of time. So I'm going to run it, and generating this data takes about 7 seconds. I'm generating data from the normal or Gaussian distribution. You can see down here, you see that it's making data because I don't want you to think mistakenly. Notice that making the data took about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It took about 7 seconds. Buying the data took 200 milliseconds. Okay, so that's the important thing. Notice that this is what random data really looks like. But hey, that's not the curve that people see when they do the bell curve. That's because it's not doing aggregation. Let me show you this fantastic feature for doing automatic aggregation. So I'll scroll down to numeric scale options, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the scale mode to automatic. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up and allow for scrolling for zooming. I'm going to allow scrolling and zooming. So now I'm going to run this again. I'm going to generate data normally at random. And now the curve that you're going to see, again, remember, 7 seconds is made. This is what the bell curve looks like, right? This is what you expect. But when you log in, when you zoom in, notice that the data is much more random. That means that we generate the number 0.12 about 19 times, number 0.106 8 times. You see that? And so this is what you expect the bell curve to look like because we're doing automatic summarization and aggregation. And so as you zoom in, you can start to see what it is. The question is, what is the aggregation? In this case, it happens to be the average, but you can change that. All right, so under numeric scale options, notice that we have set it to automatic, but you can change the function to average, minimum, sum, count, whatever. So there you go. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another series. Let me go here and let me hit add for series 2, and under series 2 I'm going to bind series 2 to W and Z, hit finish, and now what I'm going to do is instead of doing get 1, I'll say get 2. This is going to take a little bit longer, but I'm going to show you what it is that we're doing here. So let me go to the wizard here, and let me go to the legend, and let me show you this thing called use checkboxes to turn off and on specific series. So let me hit finish, and let me run it. So let's hit this button again, just to remind you, making data is what takes the longest time, not binding it. So again, we started at 53:47. It's going to take a second to make some data. Notice that making data took about 13 seconds. Binding took about 2 milliseconds. Here you see the exponential distribution and the normal distribution side by side. But what if you only want to look at the normal distribution? Do you see that's what the checkbox brings you? So let me wait till your screen catches up. You see I turned it off and I turned it on. And again, when you start to zoom in, because aggregation is set, notice that real random data is fairly noisy. And so you can see when you zoom in, the data looks almost identical when we're talking about randomness when you zoom in at a certain level, and then as you zoom out, you get to see the overall trend. So that's automatic aggregation. Now, for maps, I'm probably going to skip this one because we're running low on time. There are some pretty cool things. Specifically, one of my favorites is an information layer. Question: can we have custom markers and charts? The answer is yes. So you can have new layers. Remember, we have the image layer, we have shape layers, and now we have a new information layer. And there's one more layer that I'm missing that I'll talk about. at another time. Okay, so that is charting. Maps are fantastic. I'll show you a little bit more map stuff in the dashboard tool. Okay, let's show some spreadsheets here real quick, and I'm going to go super fast on that. Yeah, let me just show you. I'd rather just show you. So let's hit the start. Let's go to a set of startup project. I'm gonna go to the main window. I'm gonna type in spread, and then notice that we have two additional controls. One of them is the name box, which lets you see what's exactly in the control, and then the formula bar, which lets you do. Oh, sorry. The name box lets you see which cells are currently being viewed. The spreadsheet formula bar lets you, lets you look at the exact values that are in the actual cell. So let me doc, create all bars. And while it's creating all the bars, let me answer a couple of questions. Can we represent data in the chart like comparison, sales curves, values for last week and this week? Absolutely. In fact, I would do them as two separate series, and that would work well. So let me delete this. And you know what? Let me just run it. The question does, will the spreadsheet control support headers and footers? You can actually, now again, if this is for printing stuff out, you can use the printing system to aggregate those automatically, yes, add a header and a footer. If you want to do it with just the actual chart, I would add a label above and below. I mean, it just depends on what you're trying to do. Feel free to send me an email. Now, rumor has it that Amanda went Christmas shopping on Black Friday. So Black Friday, and spent a considerable amount of time buying stuff on Cyber Monday. And I am here trying to find out who she spent more money on. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this. On Julian, she spent $13. On me, 50 cents. On her husband, $24 on Black Friday. And then on Julian, she spent $24 on Cyber Monday. On me, she spent 75 cents. And on her husband, she spent 36. But this doesn't look right, so let's go and highlight it, and let's go to home. Take a look at this puppy. Oh, well, I need to make it bigger first. Take a look at this puppy. There you go. You can set the currency to something else, or you can go over here and look at this fantastic drop down to set this thing up. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to insert and say, pow. And what I've done is I've created a chart. Now, it was a lot faster, I promise, when I did it. But the thing about this is, wow, it doesn't look like she really cares about me that much. But you can move stuff around. You can change titles, types, etc. Notice that maybe a line chart would be, what is this, Amanda? This clearly is problematic. And so that's just one of the fantastic features that we have. Now, again, the other thing is we've really gone a long way in making this look like Excel inspired as much as we can. So you can see that we have tons of stuff that you can do with Spreadsheet. But nay, my dear friends, I hope you are sitting down, because I am going to make another project here real quick. Web project. We're going to call it what with 3 A's, because that's how cool it is. We'll leave it empty, set web forms. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to add a web form, call it main. Is everybody sitting down? I sure hope so. Because now in ASP.NET, now I got to find it, you know, because there's so many fantastic things that we have. Sometimes it's hard to find. What is this? Yes. ASPX spreadsheet, you say? Yes. Let me go ahead and drop this on over here on the div. And now let me go to design mode. What? What is this? And now let me run it. Here we go. Oh, shoot. So I totally messed this up by forgetting to set this as the startup project. This is so embarrassing, friends. So let's go to the startup page and let's run it again. And let me show you. Kapow! Okay, so your screens are lagging just a hair. But now you shall be. Kapow! Now you can see it. No, not yet. I can see it. You can't. There you go. Kapow. So remember, Black Friday. She spent some money. Let me hit the over arrow. And Cyber Monday. And I hit enter. Let me go to Julian, Seth, and husband. We remember 13.50 and 34. This was 34.75 and 54. Well, remember the formatting, I think, is important. So let's make sure that we set the format here to there you go. And now I'll take this guy and I'll go to insert and I will say kapow! Again. What? Did you see that craziness? I know. I hope you were all sitting for that. This is just fantastical. Are you kidding me? Yes, we are not kidding you. This, I think, is in beta. So if it crashes your computer and puts it on fire, don't blame us. It was IIS's fault. No, just kidding. I think it is beta, but I'm not sure. But this is pretty fantastic. I mean, yeah. Spreadsheets make the world go round. So we're glad to give that to you. Okay. So spreadsheet, I showed you some of that. And now, last but not least, dashboards. So let's load this up. And what I'm going to do is I am just going to show you something that you're going to think is fantastic. So I'm going to close all documents. I'm going to set this as the startup project. And before, what you had to do is you had to make a designer. But you know what, dear friends? Now you can go like this. Okay. Boom. Look at, you can do a dashboard now inside of Visual Studio. Isn't that the coolest? How do you do the data binding, though? That's a good question. Just like reports, we have a dashboard drop-down box that you are, I think it's called a menu, and you can edit data sources. And you remember, you can bind dashboards to pretty much anything. So there's a project data source, which means whatever you have in your project, or the dashboard data source, which is the one we all know and love. So let me hit OK, and let's analysis next. Let's use localhost analysis. OK, next. Let's use support. And what? Open Query Designer. Remember before I told you, you can do parameters and you can do filtering. I won't do them in this case because it's pretty much exactly the same. In fact, we are trying to give you the same experience all around. And so I will leave that okay. Now we have this analysis thing. Notice that we have here the fields and we have here the dashboard items. Yes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop some cards on there, and what we want to do is we want to know how many. Well, let's do the actual resolve time versus target resolve time, but we want to know by, let's say, issue type. There you go. So notice that that is actually pretty cool. What is this, you say? Sparklines. Let me show you how to put that in there. Boom! So now inside of cards, you can have sparklines, but you say, but Seth, it looks just like a line. Yeah, because the sparkline is being used by a year. What if you want to do month year? What? Now you can see the amount of tickets that you have. Again, I will remind you that if it's taking more time than the target resolve time, that is bad. So less is good. There you go. You see that? So it looks like our urgent tickets are being handled fantastically. So notice that this is a pretty cool visualization, if you ask me. Well, let's make it a little bit better. So we'll take the grid here and we'll drop it on there. The other thing that's important to know is we want to know how well our employees are doing at solving tickets. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a resolve time. And let's do this. Let's do a delta, right? And the target resolve time, less is good. So we'll go less is good and hit OK. But then the other thing we want to know is, hey, how well did they do that? How well did they do on that? So I will take the resolve time as a dimension, and I will set this to month and year. And then I'll set this to Sparkline. Boom. Do you see that? So you can see there's Sparklines even in this thing. And the other thing that I didn't show you is Sparklines are pretty fantastic. You can, let's see here. You can change the Sparkline view to pretty much anything. So for example, say area. Look how good that looks. Or you can change it to a bar. Look how fantastic that looks. I'll leave it at bar because I want to. And now you can move stuff around just like you did before. There you go. But friends, I am not done. Let me move this over a little bit so you can see that. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to add this thing. It's a map. What? Yes. And let me show you how fantastic the binding is for this. So let me go over here and let me go to the area. And I'm just going to do North America. Well, you know what? No, let's just do the US. What? So, but again, this isn't very interesting, is it? Well, it is if you have latitude and longitude. I'll show you. I'll talk about the chloropleth map in a blog post. I'll show you a geopoint. These particular items, ticket items, we know the lat long of the person that set them up. And what we want to do is let's go ahead and set the ID, and let's use a count. So now you can see the location of all the tickets. All right, so it looks like we have 865 there. Looks like we have 700. Holy cow, 1.46K here in New York. And so you can start to see the origin of the dashboard. Luis is asking, do you have web controls for dashboard? Yes, we do. We have a dashboard visualizer. Incidentally, when I hit save dashboard as an XML file, something meaningful, you can use that XML file and load it into our dashboard viewer control in the web. Yes, that's how fantastic it is. Okay, I have gone over a little bit. One more thing I want to show you is this notion of calculated fields. So for example, we want the resolve time minus target resolve time. Notice that if this value is positive, we took longer than we wanted to. And let's hit OK. Mayor is asking about an API. We indeed have an API where you can handle things like clicking on, when you do filtering, we can trap those events. When you click on stuff, you can trap those events. So now you can have a truly curated experience. But unfortunately, I will not have time to show those. Now, when you're asking about parameters and viewing the dashboard, wait, that's another great question. So what I'll do is I'll try to, let's see here. Let me add a parameter here. Well, it looks like to add a parameter, you have to add it through the data source section. But when you do have a parameter, the title of your dashboard will have a little icon over here where you can click and view the set the parameters. Okay, Amanda, I think I am out of time, like a long time ago. So I am happy to take questions.
Oh, there's just too much to show, right?
I know, right? And I even dressed up. Sherry is asking about when it's coming out. It is coming out. 13.2 is coming out this week. Yeah. That was my question. That was my answer. All right, Amanda, anything else you got going?
Yeah, we've got a ton of questions. So everybody, I just want to
Fantastical.
tell you that if you can't stick around for the Q&A, this is all being recorded. It will be posted to our DevExpress YouTube channel. I put a link in the chat box, and you will get a follow-up email with that link. So if you can't stick around, don't worry. You can watch it again later, all over again.
I would
All right.
probably. I'm going to watch it twice this afternoon myself. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to start from the top, Seth, so get ready. So,
Uh-oh.
is it possible to create snap menu items in other languages, localized, and how?
Yes. So the lazy way is to just go, because it generates, what it's doing is when you generate all the bars, it's just making toolbar items where you can go in there and change the text yourself if you want. But then I think there's also some localization stuff that we do. But feel free to send me an email or do a support question, because I think there's a way to do it that's easier than that even. Next.
Okay. From Clay, can you publish a snap report to the web?
Great question. So yes, you can. The way I would do it is I would do it the following way. Using the document APIs that we have, you can generate a snap report, render it to doc, and then push that out on the web. Or you can generate a PDF from it using our printing system. But there's no, you won't be able to edit it. It's just sort of like a viewer kind of thing. Great question. Next.
All right, instead of basing my queries in tables, could I use stored procedures?
This is for which product?
I believe we're still in Snap.
Yes, but the way you would do it is because Snap can do direct binding, you can also create your own object model where you do the querying yourself and pass a bunch of objects to Snap, and that would still work. Great question.
Okay. Is the query designer a control that can be called programmatically?
Not yet. I feel like I should say more there. There was like some silence. Not yet.
Well, you see, I'm typing in your answers as
Oh, you're
there's
fantastic.
There's a bit of a delay. I'm a slow typer.
Oh,
Let's see. From Alexander, is MVC also supported?
For Snap?
I think so.
I don't. I mean, you could, just like I said, you can in your controllers, you can render. You can do like a controller that will render like PDF. Just send the bits over in the response. So you could do that, but again, it would be read only, not editable.
If you schedule a monthly report, how do you tie the dates from the report's records to the begin date and end date of your schedule?
That's a great question. As a parameter, I think he means. I'm not sure. I'll have to get back to you on that. Please send me an email.
Okay. I think you already answered this. XAF and report server? Will you cover that Thursday?
I'm not sure if it actually works together, but I'll talk about it more. I'll give you a more definitive answer on Thursday.
Okay. Can you connect the report server to an OLAP cube?
I don't think so yet. Great question. Yeah.
Let's see. Hold on. Can we use the PDF viewer in Silverlight?
We do not have a PDF Silverlight viewer, I don't think. Now, a word about Silverlight. It's an interesting product. Those were my only words. Do you like that?
Can report server be deployed on Windows Azure, and is this documented somewhere?
Yes, you can do it on a virtual machine. In fact, our report server demo is running on Azure right now. Now, if you're trying to do it as an Azure website, that's a little bit different. We don't quite have support for that. The way that would work is you would have the UI live on the Azure websites, and then you would have the worker services be on a cloud service, and the scheduler service as well, and with a SQL Azure account as well. So if you want to marry all those three together, we haven't quite gotten that to work. There's some weirdness, but you can definitely get it to work on an Azure virtual machine instance.
Okay. What advantages does the report server have over SSRS?
Great question. SSRS forces you to always use SQL Server. We are not naive in the sense that we know your data comes from other places. And we are looking towards even expanding your options more than we have now to be able to let you bind to pretty much anything you want. And so in this age, well, if you're just a pure SQL Server shop, reporting services might be okay. We additionally, above and beyond just reporting, allow you to do scheduling, and we actually do a friendly way of editing and storing reports. Great question.
Can we have custom markers in charts?
Yes.
Right.
Great question. I think we have a help doc somewhere where it shows you how to do that. I don't remember where it is though.
From Brian, there was an issue about being able to lock editing from specific cells. Sorry, there was an issue that being able to lock. Okay, you got it.
I got it. I think he's talking about the spreadsheet. I am not sure if that has been done or not. But you can, I think there are events. Oh, hold on, let me look. Why don't you go to the next question while you're doing that? Because I want to see what events we have here.
Does the spreadsheet control support localization?
Yes, it should. It's just a .NET control, so it should. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay. So here's the content changed event. You can still ask. I'm really good at multitasking. I'm not sure about that. Oh, here it is. It's cell begin edit and cell end edit. What you can do is you can trap these events and cancel the edits. So for example, e.cancel equals true. So that's one way to do it. Yeah, there's an answer.
Is there, from Bill Hazelwood, is there a cell content editor? I would like to see what is in the cell.
Yes, that would be a great question. Let me see. There is the name box and the spreadsheet formula bar. So let me, I think I just put the formula bar in there. So let me move this over and let me make it a little bit smaller. Let me put these up here so you can see what these are doing. I didn't show them to you because I was kind of running out of time. Sorry. Oh, wait a minute. Stop. I started the wrong one, Amanda. This is so embarrassing.
Oh.
The other thing that I forgot to do, I think this automatically will tie itself. Okay, there you go. I have to tell it what spreadsheet control to use. So there is the spreadsheet control. Let me set this as the startup project. Okay, so now notice that, for example, equals 120. Am I typing in here? Sorry, it's still loading. Equals 123 times 3 times A1. I think I'm not sure. There's something must not be going right because I'm not. But yes, this is the thing that should be letting you do it. I think. Oh, I think I trapped the end edit and canceled all the edits. Do you remember? Haderf, yes. Remember this? Yeah, I canceled all the edits. That's why it's not working, because I'm an idiot. So I answered the other question without. Okay, so equals 123 times A1 times 5. Let's put something in there for A1. Oh, that's not going to work. Let's put 12. So notice that you can see the formula bar. This is supposed to be, I don't know why. I'll have to answer this later. There's something not quite right here going on with this. But yes, and this actually answers another question where you can you type in normal sort of, I think Eduardo, can you use plus C5 minus B1 for, yes. This should show up here, but it's not showing up for some reason.
Seth, what about setting cells as read only?
Yeah, I just did that. On their begin edit, you can cancel everything. And so, for example, say there's certain range that you want to set. what you can do is under DevExpress, you can actually you can cancel the cell change events. A cell change. Good question. Okay, next question.
Is the dashboard a redistributable control to end users, or does it need a license per end user?
No, it's not. It's just like our reporting, right? Once you make a report and you show it to people, you don't have to pay a license. It's a license for developers.
People are asking for the webinar source code. Is that something you can?
Let's see if I can do that. Open containing folder. Let me close this real quick. Well, I probably need to take this update here out. But here, let's do this. Yeah, I got to take update here. This was just to put lat long in my data, so I'm going to delete that. And this is what I'm going to do for you guys. I'm going to right click, and I'll zip it up. And yeah, if you want it, I can send it to you. Just email me and I'll send it to you. Any other questions?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Holy cow, there's a lot. Oh, my goodness.
Perhaps I missed it, but does the search in the PDF viewer allow you to search all PDFs in a collection of PDFs? Okay.
Notice that what I was showing you is, yeah, let me load up the code here so that you can, man, I closed Visual Studio. What was I thinking? So, yes, but what I showed you is I showed you only searching through one, right? Because that's, but remember, if you want to do a collection of PDFs, all you need to do, let me show you the code again. 1 second, let me scroll up. Win PDF, view code. Remember that you can load any document you want as many times as you want. You can use, for example, directory.load all files, and anything that has a PDF you can search through, but you'd have to do it in a loop. This, I just did one file, but yes, you can do a collection of files. You just put this in its own function. Good question.
From Brian Kelly, I had trouble using the PDF viewer to view scanned documents. Is this because it's in beta and the final version will have better rendering?
Not sure. If you're having problems, create a ticket. We should be able to show. We should be able to show it.
Does the dashboard grid support the master detail feature?
No, but I wouldn't suggest doing that. There is a way to do something called a master filter on the dashboard that will let you drill down into the data. Usually on a dashboard, you don't want to show everything at once. You want to show the most important things and then let the user drill down from there. So no, we don't have that yet. And if there's a reason why you would want that, let me know, because I could totally be mistaken too.
Does the PDF viewer handle password protected PDFs?
Yes.
Any plans for a dashboard web designer in the future?
Yes. I would love to have a dashboard web designer. Are we talking about a person or the software? Oh, yes to both.
Let's see. Seth, I'm having an issue with the API. I can't seem to get the actual filter from a master filter. Seems like I'm only getting some of the columns.
That's a great question. If you're having problems with that, let's get a support ticket going. I think this is Mayor. He emailed me a couple times.
Yes.
I sent you some code. If that didn't work, then we need to get to the bottom of it and get it fixed. But good question.
On the map,
yes.
Can you colorize the states in the U.S., for instance, in different colors?
Absolutely. That is the one I didn't show you. Sorry, I'm clicking on the wrong thing. Let me go to analysis here. Notice that we have this thing called a choropleth map that lets you do that. So, yeah, good question. Next question.
Does the dashboard export data to Excel? From Otto.
That's a good question. Now, that's kind of an ambiguous question too, right? Because notice that this is bound to just a single table. And so at any time, you can add a button that will say export to Excel, and you can use our Excel document stuff to generate an Excel on the fly from a data table. In fact, I think from Excel you can generate data tables, and I think you might be able to pass in a data table to Excel and let it show it. And so, yes, you can, but I guess I need more information. Like I said, you can pretty much do anything you want because it's just code. So, great question.
Can you connect the spreadsheet and pivot grid?
Yes. Sure, why not? I don't see why not. Again, if you're talking about WinForms, I could probably show you how to do that. It's not difficult. It's just you have a bunch of cells and you want to put those cells in different cells. It's just a transfer. But yeah, great question.
Is there a multi-level drill down donut chart for the dashboard from Matthew?
Yes. So the way that would work is you would use the pie chart, and then what you do is you can set what kind of pie chart it is, and then what you would do is you would set the master filter on it so that you can sort of drill down into it. It just depends. I mean, obviously it depends on what your scenario is, but I can see a way of doing that just with what we have. Yes.
From Sergio, control dashboard designer is not there.
I'm not sure what he means. We have a dashboard designer for WinForms that you can export to your end users, and they can design dashboards to their heart's content, save the XML file, and then you can do whatever you want with that. Almost exactly like reports, if you think about it. Dashboards is like reports, except dashboards are designed to be interactive. Reports are not as interactive. And so you can see that how that might work. But we don't have a designer for the web yet. Great question.
What about a dashboard for the web?
Yes, you can actually, we have a dashboard viewer control. Once you save these XML files, you can load those up into the viewer, and it will automatically pull data, and then you can have dashboard on the web, yes.
Formula bar is not bound to the spreadsheet control?
Yes. I think he's talking about my fail over here. I'm not sure. Not sure what's going on, but the formula bar is supposed to show you what's inside of the cell, like the formula. But for some reason, I don't know why it's not. Oh, that's why it's not working, because I'm an idiot. So he's telling me how to fix my issue.
Ah.
So now in the spreadsheet, you should be able to see. So let's put a number here, and let's do equals 123 times A1 minus 1. So you should be able to see it in here, but I don't know why it's not. There's something. Enter. There's something wrong with it. I don't know what's going on. So I thought I did have it bound, but it looks like it's. I don't know why it's not doing it. Good question. I'll ask our engineers about it. Great question.
Okay, from Mike, can you have a dashboard that's just made up of saved charts?
I think that's what a dashboard is, right? I guess I don't know what you mean by that. Maybe send me an email. I really want to answer that. I'm not quite sure how to answer that.
Okay. Any plans for adding PDF form filler capabilities so we are able to load a PDF form and fill their fields programmatically?
I will tell you this. Every year we sort of build a roadmap. Obviously, there's bumps along the way, and sometimes we have to take detours and go around stuff. But that is something that I will bring up during our yearly meeting, which actually happens next week.
It sure does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. From Brian Kelly, any plans for a web PDF viewer?
So again, next week we are totally going to get together and be like, "Hey, what's up? Yeah, haven't seen you since yesterday." Okay, so
is that what happens? I never get to go to Summit, so is that what?
Why don't you should come? All we really do is We just play Dungeons and Dragons the whole time. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, really.
From Dave, is there a place where we can give feedback or vote on items for your development roadmap?
Yes. If you go to our support center, there are suggestions. So support.devexpress.com, there are certain suggestions that are made. For example, let me not. So here's this guy that's saying he can't activate the spelling. Notice that it starts with a Q. Anything that starts with an S is a suggestion, and you can vote. Or I don't know if you can vote, but you can follow
You can
it.
up or down it or something, right?
No, there's no. Yeah, I mean that works too, but you can follow it along or add it to favorites. I don't know what it is, but if you do that, that's what we look at. We look at how many people say, yeah, I want this too. So if you have a suggestion, add it here and then get people to vote on it. And that's what we look at. Obviously, and then it also coincides with what I feel we should do long term with the analytics and the developers, obviously, and everybody else.
I'm going to take just a few more. Are there any new gauge styles in the dashboard? From Brian Moore.
Not that I remember. I think they're the same. Let's see. By the way, someone did ask this question, not answer, but we do support OLAP binding and dashboards. It's an important thing that we have to say. We also have an AXPX dashboard viewer, and the dashboard supports any number of data sources, including OLAP. The dashboard designer is also supported in Visual Studio 2010. Okay. What was the question I was currently on? Sorry, I had a senior moment.
Dang
it.
Hold on. I can find it. Any plans for a web? No, you answered that. I don't know. I've lost it. Here it is. Are there any new gauge styles in the dashboard?
I don't know. That's a great question. We'll have to.
Wow, I'm glad we went back to that.
I know, right?
Good answer.
Hold on. Let's see here. Hold on. So let's do gauges, target, actual gauges. Oh, there's the. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look. But this is the way you would look in here. Oh, there's the view type. So these are the ones we have. So I don't think we have any new ones.
Roman says no new gauge styles.
Yeah. Yeah. Looks like we found out almost exactly the same time, huh?
From Dave, do charts have a scatter graph chart, specifically an XYZ scatter?
If the Z is a third dimension, the answer is no. If the Z means something else, then maybe. I guess it depends on what you mean by that.
Okay. Is there a vertical gauge that can show 3-level markers?
Oh, those are called bullet graphs. We don't currently have those. I think we're working on them, but don't tell anybody.
And our final question.
Okay.
Alaska and Hawaii on the U.S. map.
Let's see.
From Greg.
Yes, North America. We kind of got Greenland in there too. Does that not help? There's Alaska right there. What? The cool thing about this, though, and I think this is important, is you can have your own shapefile. That's the coolest thing, right? I mean, you can put what, like, say you want to have a dashboard of your office temperature, right? And then map that against how angry people are. You can have your own shapefile with people at their desks with angriness and temperature. I mean, that's the kind of coolness that you can do with maps. So the answer is not the default one, right? Because we have default ones, but you can do your own custom one as well with a shapefile, right? And that could be like your office floor or something, as long as you have geo points or something. Great question.
All right, I am gonna give you one more because they just keep coming in.
Okay.
Does the spreadsheet control support data binding from Suresh?
Data binding. Now, that's an interesting thing because usually when people say data binding, they mean, can I click here and then it happens? If that's what you mean, the answer is no. But it does support data binding because you can access any cell on any sheet, on any spreadsheet that you have. And so you can imagine a scenario where you have a data table and you push it directly into the Excel spreadsheet by just doing 2 for loops. So yes, but no.
From Todd Bailey, with parameters, do you then set default parameters that the user can change with the parameter icon?
Yes, you can do that, or you can force them to change it by making it empty. My suggestion would be to set it to something reasonable first and then allow them to change it later. Great question.
All right. We are 37 minutes past the hour.
I'm so sorry. I was 10 minutes late, but I tried to show you everything. I was really excited to do that.
But we do save all these questions, so maybe the team will be able to look through them and you can do a follow-up blog post or something, right, Seth?
Sure enough. Well, Amanda, then I turn it back to you, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all those great questions. Like we've said a million times, our 13.2 launch is happening this week, and we do have 3 more webinars you can register for. ASP.NET and CodeRush are tomorrow. ASP.NET is at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and CodeRush is at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. And XAF is on Thursday, again with Seth Juarez at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can register now at devexpress.com/webinars. And that's it. Thanks to Seth for presenting. Thank you all for joining us. And again, when you exit this webinar, you will see a short survey. Please take a second to comment. We truly appreciate it. All right. Thanks for choosing DevExpress. Bye-bye.